Let's talk about the formula to winning and winning anything. It could be business or life or anything else, but I think I can actually best explain the formula to winning through a 10-year-old story back when I was in high school during basketball. So when I was playing basketball, I promise this will relate back to business, but in 8th grade, I had a basketball team and we went defeated. Not undefeated. We lost every single game that we played. So we went completely defeated. Never won a game. Fast forward to the next year, we almost went undefeated. We almost won everything. Won all the games. And the key difference is that we had a different coach that changed everything. Changed the way that we did everything. And we worked so much harder than we did the previous year. And here's what we did. So the day-to-day for me, what it looked like as a 9th grader at the time, is morning practice. I'd had morning shoot around, so I'd shoot around in the morning before school. Then during school, midway during school, there was basketball PE, where essentially we did some weight training. We finished school. At the very end of the day of school, we went right to the training room and we did cardio for 45 minutes. And we got to choose whether we wanted the bike, the elliptical, or the treadmill. And we just had to make sure our heart rate on the device said that it was above 100 rate per minute, 100 RPM, which was like fast. Like we're always going fast, and like that was intense. Right after cardio, we'd have a Olympic shooting session, which is like 30 to 45 minutes of just shooting around with a partner back and forth. And we were already, keep in mind, dead tired for all this stuff. Then we got to go home. So we got to go home, do homework, eat, whatever we need to do. But later back at night, we came back for another 3-hour practice. And so you can just imagine like the workload on a young kid for that much stuff. Like that's a lot of work. But we won. We won a lot because our whole team was doing that kind of stuff. And the thing that I thought about is like, I never broke that down until today, 10 years later, because it worked so well. But the reason why it worked is that we were doing the right inputs and doing a lot of it. So we were doing the correct training. We were doing the conditioning. We were getting our skills up by doing the shoot around. And then we were doing the teamwork consistently by doing like the actual late at night practices. And I guarantee you that we were outperforming our competitors in terms of how much work we were putting in. And this applies to business too. A lot of people, they either are not doing the right things. So like if you know you need to make cold calls to make money and they're not doing it, that's the wrong thing. A lot of people struggle with that issue. But also another issue that people struggle with is that sometimes they'll do the right thing. They'll do the cold calls, but they just don't do enough of it. They're like, yeah, I called 10 people today and I called 10 people the next day. It's like, yeah, but like you got to call like 1,000, like it's a big difference. So we were doing the volume and doing the right things, and we were just grinding. And I think the big thing behind that is that we were so involved in the day-to-day activities that it took to succeed that I didn't even really think about winning at the time. I was just thinking about like getting through this, making sure we accomplish the task that needs to be done. And once you focus on just the activities that you need to be doing, the results will come. Like we weren't even thinking about, oh yeah, this is going to be for winning. It's like, no, we're just like, our coach told us to do this. Our coach told us to run 45 minutes. So we ran for 45 minutes and it was hard, very hard, but it worked. So make sure you get fully involved in the day-to-day, that you don't think about anything else. So don't have your distractions, whatever distractions that you have that's keeping you away from your goal, remove it. And I promise it'll fill that time that you removed, it'll fill with something else. And hopefully you fill it intentionally with the things that you know you need to be doing. Number 2, the reason why we were winning is because we had peers. We had people that we were going through this hell with. We had teammates, and at the time, we always called each other family, so those were my brothers. And a lot of people in business, they just go through it completely alone. There's no mentor above them helping them. There's no peers at their level going through what they're trying to do, or at least they're not talking to any. And there's no mentees. There's no people they're trying to pull up. Now, I like to have a mix of those people, but if you have no one to go through what you're trying to do and no one to bounce back ideas with, it gets kind of lonely. It's a very lonely game of business, and not that it's a bad thing, but it gets hard. And sometimes it gets hard to think straight sometimes when you're not motivated or you're going through a hard time. You don't really know who to talk to at the time. Like maybe your family doesn't understand. So really try to surround yourself with peers who are going through similar stuff that you're going through. And I promise you, it's going to help. So those are the two things that I took from basketball 10 years ago that I can directly apply to my business, or that I already have. That's really helped me a lot. Now, the other part of success that I'm not talking about the success that I learned from way long ago, but the success I learned not long ago, not from basketball, was that most business people, they do all the same things that you know you need to be doing. They do all the fundamentals. They never skip the fundamentals, and if it's not them, it's someone on their team who is doing the fundamentals correctly. Now, that means in business, they're doing the cold calls, they're doing the warm outreach, they're doing the door knocking, whatever it is that you're doing to generate leads in your business, they're doing it if they're in your kind of business or your industry. Now, the difference is that they just found more ways to win. They found more ways to reward themselves consistently, because if you think about it, humans are pretty simple. Sure, we're complex, but like in terms of behavior, we're very simple. We get rewarded, we like rewards, and when we do something wrong, like we get punished, it sucks. Like we learn from an early age with our parents, like when you do something wrong, you don't like it, you get yelled at, or you get slapped on the butt, or whatever it is. And when you do something right, like they're like, oh yay, like you did it right, good job. Like we get rewards and we get punishment. And if you can find ways to reward yourself or punish yourself, some people like to do that as well. But if you find ways to do that, to establish good behavior, or behavior that you're trying to do and that's beneficial to you and your goal, you'll be much better off. And a simple example of this is these Apple Watches or Fitbits or any kind of fitness tracker that tracks your steps or your activity. Now, on a lot of them, you can set goals. So I'm going to talk about the Apple Watch because that's what I have, for example, is there's like these fitness rings of activity. How much activity did you do? How many minutes of exercise did you do? How much did you stand all day? So there's these like metrics of activity that you have to actually meet. And if you wear the watch all day, the moment you accomplish your goal, the ring fills up and it's like goes like hooray or whatever it is, and like it's very rewarding. It's the weirdest thing, but it makes the day-to-day so much more fun when I do the hard stuff. Because I've actually already loved fitness before I got the Apple Watch, and I already worked out consistently. But when I got it, I was like, this is pretty fun. Like, why are my workouts way more fun? And I think it's because I'm getting instant gratification on these rewards from the rings closing, and it's just some kind of reward. And if you could find a way to reward yourself for doing the necessary activities that you know you need to be doing for your business, you're going to stick with it longer, and you're just going to do it better and more consistently. You're probably going to be happier doing it, because that's what happened to me. So if you know you need to be cold calling for your business and you're not doing it, or you're not doing enough of it, then maybe find a way to reward yourself, whatever it is. Like if you have a hydro massage at your gym, like maybe just treat yourself to something like that if you don't want to pay extra for a real massage or something. Or if you like these certain protein cookies, like treat yourself to one every time you finish it. Like obviously you want your treat to hopefully be consistent with your overall goal too. So like I'm talking about food here. Hopefully that's a similar goal that you actually have, and you're not treating yourself to something that'll bring you away from a different goal. But like find a way to treat yourself. Do something for yourself to reward yourself for doing the tasks that you need to be doing. And it could be something, you know what, as simple as rewarding yourself with breaks. So for example, if you know your goal is to call 2,000 people that day, 2,000 cold calls that day, maybe reward yourself after 100. After 100, treat yourself to like a 5-minute break or something. Or I don't know, 200, 250. But pick a number and reward yourself with like a 5-minute break, and do something that you'll actually enjoy, like reward yourself with a walk, or maybe not a snack if you eat every hour. But find a way to reward yourself, because that's what we do. That's what people do who are successful in whatever they do. Like for me, for example, I'm going to relate it back to fitness, because a lot of people understand fitness. If I'm on the treadmill and I know I want to walk for an hour and a half, which for me, that'll probably get like 4 to 5 miles. If I want to do something like that, then I'm not just looking at the clock and saying, okay, like I got to wait till it hits an hour 30. Like that's a lot. Like, no, like for me, usually when it hits 20 minutes, I'm like, boom, like that's a win. Like 20 minutes, because if I'm walking at a 3 speed on the treadmill, that's about a mile. I'm like, boom, big win. And sometimes you can break it down further. Once you hit 10 minutes, you're like, boom, like, yes, like focus on the mini goals. And if you focus on the mini goals, once you accomplish that miniature goal, it's a win. it's a great win and you feel better about yourself. Like, these don't have to be rewards that are like exterior, like outside. It could be within what you're doing. So like every 10 minutes, I'm like, yep, perfect. Like I'm excited about hitting the next 10 minutes or whatever it is, because the biggest business owners and the biggest successful people in whatever industry, they just do the simple things and find ways to reward themselves for doing those things. And that's all it really is. So to recap, you want to make sure you fully involve yourself in the day-to-day, doing the correct activities that are needed to give you the solution or the achievement that you're trying to actually do. You want to surround yourself with peers doing the same thing, and you want to find more ways to win and do the basics. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and if hopefully I will see you in the next